So we're going to start right with the Bolt Carbine. It's seen the biggest buffs in patch 4.5. So anybody new, this is the max relic standard version of the weapons. In lethal difficulty, weapon perks are considered, but class perks are excluded. So this is the gun on its own merit, not counting in any of your class perks. So the Bolt Carbine, exactly what I wanted to see in an SMG when the game first came out. I think they hit it, the nail right on the head in this one and really delivered a good experience that we needed from a submachine gun. So it feels really nice to use. The time to kill is excellent. Every single stat on this gun just skyrocketed up. Only reason it honestly melts down bosses as well. And the only reason it's got a 7 is just because you do have to be within 10 meters. So I did want to take that into consideration. But overall, if you're within 10 meters, this versus bosses, this is probably definitely like an 8. But, with the caveat of having to get in 10 meters, I felt like, that should be taken into consideration. But overall, Bolt Carbine, they did a fantastic job with this one. And then next up, we have the Occulus. Now this seen the second biggest buffs in the patch, and well needed. Look at this gun was sitting so bad on my tier list, and just the overall, when I've seen the numbers, I couldn't believe how low it was. 2.6, and this thing has jumped up to 7.2. I don't like the buffs personally as much as the SMG, but the increased headshot damage is very big on this gun, and this gun has like no recoil at all. So, and it does have some decent perks for bosses, but you do have to get the headshots, and it is harder on bosses to get the headshots, especially on certain ones. So that's why it's sitting at a 7, but it really went up against majors. And you're noticing the ammo management, they didn't change the ammo, but since it does so much more damage, the ammo management, that is why that number is increasing as well. But yeah, across the board, the Occulus is a very, very good choice for the Vanguard now. And the contested health as well is very, very nice on this gun. If you're landing your headshots, you can really keep your contested health up with the Occulus Bolt now. And next up, we are going to have the Bolt Sniper. I would say this seen a huge buff as well. Now, I already had this thing very strong against majors, sitting at a 9, but this definitely popped it up to a 10, and the health regen as well went up just a notch due to the increased fire rate and the extra damage that you're getting now. Bosses, I'm basically leaving it the same. I do know it has the increased fire rate and the damage, but the headshots is still the main factor. And, the place where the gun really struggles is against minors. That's where it has a big problem. It ticked up one little spot in the minors just because of its increased fire rate, but it really doesn't help it much against minors. It's still sitting at a 6, which is a D. It's the worst in the game when it comes to minors. And the ammo management is not bad on the gun as well, as long as you're picking the right perks. And then we are going to go to the Auto Bolt. Now, I was hoping to see some kind of damage to the Auto Bolt rifle instead of what they did, but kind of what they did was increase its strengths that it already had. This gun is very good against minors, and it has very good ammo management if you are using the gun properly. It doesn't want you to sit there and try to melt down majors and extremists. I think they more want you to melee them and just deal with all the minors with your gun, and then go in there with your chainsword and kind of deal with the majors and extremists that way, over expending all your ammunition on them, because very, very weak against bosses and majors, in my opinion. And for the last one up, Plasma Incinerator. Now, this is getting a buff just on my personal end. This has nothing to do with the patch, even though it did receive a reduced heat on your charge shots for certain builds of the gun, which did make the gun better. But this is a personal raise on the Versa Majors and Extremists. I feel like I had it wrong, and I think that should be a 9 instead of an 8. So that is why you're going to see the difference on that stat right there. And then we can kind of just look at where everything is sitting overall in the game right now. I still have the heavy plasma on top. The bolt rifle with grenade launcher is in second, and the heavy bolter, which I was surprised to even see, third. La Fusel at 8.4, and the Multi-Melta 8.4. So those two are sitting at the same. And then we got the Plasma Incinerator and the Bolt Carbine both sitting at 8. And then you can see it down the list from there. Every gun I feel like right now is basically pretty good for lethal. Besides, I would say the Auto Bolt down could all use some buffs next. So I would say the Auto Bolt, the Heavy Bolt, and the bolt carbine marksman if they wanted to buff that gun. But I know the bolt carbine just got one, so just the auto bolt and the heavy bolt I think definitely should get a buff. And yeah, I think everything else is sitting pretty nice right now in the game. I do hope they do tweak things here and there just so we have something to talk about and gives us, a little more variety in the game and just switches up the meta in the game every patch here and there. So overall, this is where I have everything sitting after patch 4.5. I'm always more interested in hearing what you guys think, and thanks for checking out the video.